This is like a film video journal that I'm gonna try to do every month for all the movies that I watch. This I haven't really scripted out or anything. I'm just gonna, I have my list of everything that I watched in January of 2025. First, I watched Flight. Flight is a 2012 film directed by Robert Zemeckis and starring Denzel Washington. A really talented pilot, played by Denzel, who also is an extreme alcoholic and drug addict. He basically lands a crashing plane. The rest of the movie basically deals with the fallout from that. First 20 or 30 minutes of this movie, it's phenomenal. Once something starts to go wrong in the plane, Denzel kind of takes charge. Everything about that sequence is just done so well, and it's great to see Denzel just commanding a scene like that. That's kind of what this character he plays is like. I don't know. In some ways, he's very self confident. Obviously, he's also a very broken person. But you get that good, that good Denzel movie star performance that you want. I mean, there's great needle drops. The songs in the movie are pretty as stereotypical like movie soundtrack songs as you could get, but they're also great songs still, so I don't care. And the way that they're used is like great. Like some of the needle drops when it kicks in, I was like smiling. It was awesome. In some ways it is very Hollywood and like a little glamorous, like with the music and some of that stuff. This is the guy that made Forrest Gump, and you can tell, I think, in a good way. So there is that side to it, but I think there's also like it's a pretty, especially in the Denzel performance, like it's a pretty harrowing and like ugly portrayal of addiction. Very interestingly, the other really strong like theme that's kind of running under this movie is like God and religion. Was not expecting that. It's like talked about a lot. The plane crash is talked about as like an act of God. They crash into like a field of some niche church. They're like worshiping something as the plane like crashes over them. So it's like all kinds of interesting ideas that it's bringing up and discussing. I think what I would say about this movie is that first of all, I really enjoyed it. I had a great time watching it. It's a great Denzel movie. And this movie is taking a lot of big swings. If you want to talk about God in your movie, that's like a, pretty dense and complex idea. And I'm not sure the movie is really investigating the idea, but it's doing something interesting with it. And I appreciate that. And I think they, it's not a hit every time they swing, but they're definitely swinging. There's definitely some hits. I will say I watched this movie. I loved it. Had a great time. I would recommend this to everyone. My next movie is Good Night and Good Luck. This is a 2005 film directed by George Clooney. And he is in the movie, but he's a supporting character. But it's kind of like a ensemble procedural type, kind of like news room type movie. It takes place during like the McCarthy Senate hearings. I think it was the 50s. Basically, it's about the team at CBS, led by Edward R. Murrow, deciding to take a stand, an official stand against McCarthy and what he's doing. It's more about the idea of that decision. So this is like right about after United States is invading Iraq. So a lot of the movies around this time, which I have been watching recently, there's definitely ideas about that are being investigated and discussed. Yeah, I think this movie is actually like a pretty clear statement of resistance is maybe a little bit strong of a word, but I think there is a statement being made that says we who have the influence, or I should say the platform, to talk about significant events, there's a responsibility that comes with that. And there are times where you have to take a stand. So I think in the aftermath of like the post 9/11 America going nutso, you can definitely see um, that influence in the movie as well, say. Now, for the movie itself, it's pretty good. I liked it. It's all shot in black and white. It looks really great. It's kind of like sleek, sexy, and it's also like pretty short, very efficient, well paced. Like it's a pretty strong credit to it to say that it does not overstay its welcome whatsoever. I think that's highly uncommon for films that are trying to, say something. And that's a good thing. Like you should definitely try to say something with your movie, but uh as it happens a lot of the time, it's like, okay, we get it. But this one, it was efficient. It did its job. It did what it needed to do. So I appreciate that. I'm sort of in the midst of working my way through the Best Picture nominees for the 21st century. So that's why I watched this movie, and that's why I'm a lot of the movies on this list. That's what I'm watching them for. There will be varying levels of appreciation for a lot of these Best Picture nominees. There are definitely some of the movies that I did not like. Anyway, good night and good luck. Good. Like it was good. Good solid movie. Glad I watched it. Next movie I saw was A Complete Unknown. I saw it in theaters. A Complete Unknown is a 2024 movie directed by James Mangold, starring Timothy Chalamet as Bob Dylan. I have strong beef with the music biopic genre. The people that we're making these movies about, these musical artists, are like some of the most interesting people that we could make movies about. And yet, for some reason, we are choosing to make every single one exactly the same. Um, so that's kind of my beef with it. Like, I watched the Bob Marley one last year, and I was like, this is not it. It's like, it's Bob Marley. This is a very, very interesting person with a very interesting life. And basically, none of it was really investigated in a serious or meaningful way. So stuff like that. That's what kind of, aggravates me about these movies. I am a big fan of Bob Dylan's music. That in tandem with my strained relationship with this type of movie, I had low expectations, I would say, for a long time. And they were exceeded, but not by that much, but I liked it. It's basically all scenes of him and other people performing music. Like the whole movie is basically a song and then another song and another song. That aspect of it worked for me. Like, do I want to go to the movie theater and watch, Bob Dylan perform music? Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. It's cool. Timothy Chalamet was really great. It's a hard character to play. Like Bob Dylan is a guy that you could easily do a really bad impression of, and the whole movie is just on his shoulders if he can do it or not, and he does. Like I said, the whole movie is basically songs and performances, which is good, and but the other side of that coin is there's not really like a story. There's a love triangle story, but it's whatever. The story doesn't really provide anything for him or the other actors to like really sink their teeth into. He's definitely doing a good job of for real embodying this person. But there's still it still is more because of the movie than him, but it's a little bit of a surface level thing because we're not really getting into any sort of nitty-gritty of anything, which I do think is also kind of a good decision because I don't think they would have been able to really do that, like pull it off, frankly. I was talking about Flight, and they took big swings, and they didn't all hit, but some of them did, and it was great, and I love that. This movie didn't really take any big swings, but I in this case do kind of appreciate that as well because I am not supremely confident that they would have made any hits with those swings. So I'm cool with where they're at. If you want to watch what I think is a really interesting movie about Bob Dylan that was already made, I think I want to say like 2006. It's called I'm Not There. The part of me that hates the music biopic movies was very pleased because finally here's a movie that takes an interesting approach to tackling a larger than life musical artist character. So I would recommend that movie. I didn't watch it this month, but just a little bonus there. Man, this is gonna be a long ass video, I think. The next movie that I watched was Crash. I think there's a couple movies called Crash, but this is the 2005 one. This was directed by Paul Haggis. I don't know a ton of his other movies. I know he wrote some other. I know he wrote Million Dollar Baby and some other stuff too. It's one of those like ensemble type movies. It attempts to be one of those ensemble type movies. This is a pretty infamous movie. Its legacy now is that it won Best Picture at the Oscars as a like extremely naive, surface level, frankly incompetent film about racism. If you remember when Green Book won Best Picture, and that was sort of that same narrative of like, okay, this is a very surface level take on a very complex issue. Not to mention people that are doing much more interesting takes on, racism. This movie is a lot worse than Green Book, I would say. It basically follows like several different characters in LA of all different races as they experience racism in different ways and also like commit acts of racism in different ways. And it's sort of like oh, look, we're all racist to each other. If only we could just take a moment to see each other as human. Oh, wouldn't the world be great? It's like, okay, yeah, man, but that's not what this is about at all. So I'm sure many, many people have talked about this. And it's a lot to talk about. Like, there's a lot of bad decisions that are made in this movie. Just talking about, not even talking about like the filmmaking of it, which I also thought was not good, but the ideas, like, it's just a classic Oscar bait movie. There's really nothing being said, just things being sort of like positioned forward so that you people may think that this movie has ideas, but it doesn't. Yeah, anyway, that's there's a lot that I could say about the film's attempt to tackle the idea of race and racism in the United States. But you get the idea. It's not good. They didn't do it. They didn't do a good job of it. In terms of form and filmmaking, also bad, I think. The script is quite bad. I was just like, what are we doing here? Well, I'll tell you what we're doing. And I haven't heard anybody say this, but to me, this is like very clearly ripping off Magnolia. Obviously, there are way before Magnolia, there are movies like this that have ensemble casts, and it's sort of like multiple storylines that all tie together at the end. Like, I realize that's a type of movie. We're just following these different storylines. It's sort of like a web of characters and storylines, and there's these great big ideas that are, being talked about in theory. It all sort of comes to a climactic head. The end of the movie, basically, it snows in LA, and it's supposed to be like, oh, this is such a strange event. It's like a miraculous thing. And it's again exactly the same thing that happens in Magnolia. I won't say what happens in that movie, because I think that's a good movie. But I was like, this kind of feels beat for beat to me. The more offensive side of this movie is the race conversation rather than the filmmaking. But, just something that I noticed that I thought was pretty clear. I don't know if I have much else to say about this movie. I mean, actually, I do, but most of it is just going to be redundant. So you get the idea. There's some like crazy comical scenes. It's like comically offensive, is what I would say. I wouldn't even say watch this if you want to make fun of it and get angry. Go watch something better. Go watch something that you're gonna feel good after. Let's move on from this because this is a movie that I hate. My next movie is Walk the Line. This is another James Mangold movie starring Joaquin Phoenix as Johnny Cash. So I watched this movie because I had just seen A Complete Unknown and I had never seen Walk the Line. Obviously I knew about it, not as an amazing movie, but just as like the Johnny Cash movie. And I like Johnny Cash, so I wanted to watch it. And let me tell you, this is the kind of exact same movie as A Complete Unknown. Like he kind of ripped off his own movie, like bar for bar. I'll say there's a scene in both movies where the main character is singing a song with their like forbidden lover while their wife, not while their like stable love, I guess, is watching in the audience. So that scene is in both movies, and it's literally the same song is being sang in both of these movies, and it's basically done exactly the same way. So I guess that's more of a discredit to A Complete Unknown, but I did like that better because I think I just got more of the music. Like A Complete Unknown, whatever story it has, it's taking from that like formula, that Walk the Line formula. But most of that movie is not story. So to me, that was more enjoyable. Like Walk the Line does have a better story and a more substantial story, but it's didn't really do anything special for me. That's fine. It was better than the Bob Marley one, respectfully. I thought Joaquin Phoenix was pretty good. Well, I thought he was very good. I don't know if he was spot on Johnny Cash, but he was good, and I thought Reese Witherspoon was great. This movie has been talked about as being kind of a very formulaic example of this genre or subgenre, and you can very much see why. The next movie I watched was Snack Shack. Came out last year, 2024. I don't know who directed this movie. Looks like it was directed by Adam Carter Remeyer. Stars Gabriel LaBelle and another kid. His name's Connor Sherry. This movie is sort of like a coming of age movie about these two friends that run like a snack shack at the town pool over the summer. High school kids. It doesn't um, really innovate anything in terms of the coming of age movie. It's basically just playing the hits and they're all hitting. Sometimes you see a movie that's, you know, not doing anything new and each trope that goes by, it's like, okay, we did this one, got it. This movie, they're not really doing anything new. They're hitting all the tropes and all the kind of cliches, but they're just doing a good job of it. Like when I watch this movie, I'm like, oh, this is why I love these type of movies because they're awesome. It gives you all the things that you love. It's like a great high school summer movie. I will say I do have one major complaint. Like I said, all of the tropes I was enjoying and on board with, but there was something that in my opinion was like telegraphed pretty much the whole movie, and I was like, I really just hope that this doesn't happen, and it did. So that was one thing that I was like, I just wanted everything else but not a certain plot point that happens. But it's still like it definitely doesn't ruin the movie. It's just like, okay, yeah, we're really We're really doing it, by the book here. It has so many great moments, great acting, great energy, a lot of really cool like shots and camera work. I really liked it. I mean, I like this kind of movie a lot, but I think, everyone kind of does. Great watch, fun watch. Um this one I highly recommend. The next movie I watched was Capote. This is 2005. Should I be looking up these directors? I kind of just thought that I would know them for some reason. Okay, it's directed by Bennett Miller, and this guy, no way. Okay, I didn't know that he directed Moneyball. Shout out to Bennett Miller for directing Moneyball. That's the only other movie I've seen of his, but man, I fucking love Moneyball. And this is Philip Seymour Hoffman playing Truman Capote, investigating the murders that would lead to him writing In Cold Blood. And it's follows his investigation and his uh, growing, very complex and interesting relationship with the murderers. This was something that I didn't really know anything about. Never read the book, never read anything he's written. Don't really know much about Truman Capote. So I was like, this isn't really my thing. I love Philip Seymour Hoffman, but this didn't seem to me to be like the kind of thing that I was really gonna dig. It's not my favorite thing that I watched, but it surprised me a little bit. Like, uh, it was very interesting. It's not really fun to watch at all. It's very dark, posing some interesting questions about like the artistic process and definitely about this guy Truman Capote. I don't know if this is a biopic. I think I would say it is. If it is, it's a refreshing version of it because it portrays its main character in a very complex way. In many moments, he's portrayed in a pretty bad way, pretty like villainous and manipulative way. And so it's interesting. He's conflicted about his manipulation, I think, but he's absolutely still going to do it. And he's absolutely going to make sure that he does everything that he can to make his work better, to make his art better. There's some kind of fucked shit that this guy does. Even though he's most of the bad things that he does are to these murderers, those characters are also fleshed out very well. Or the main guy that he talks to is. And so, you're kind of getting both sides of both of these characters. And it just lends for a really interesting movie experience. Again, I didn't love watching it. It was good. A lot of it looked really good as well. My appreciation of this movie is not in watching it. I don't think about it often after having watched it, but when I do think about it, there's a lot to think about. So it's definitely one of those movies that it's not resolving anything really for you, which I think is cool. Philip Seymour Hoffman is one of the great actors. Most every movie that I've seen him in, he's playing a very different character. And this one is definitely not an exception. This is a very unique character. He has a very particular cadence and way of, moving about the world. Probably not my favorite of his, but like, wow, crazy. This is, I mean, I've seen a lot of movies that this guy's in. So I'm very familiar with him because I want to look at movies as like, you know, in art and like the thought that's going into it. Sometimes I'm looking more at the actor than the character, and that can have its drawbacks. But this movie, I was looking at the acting, but I was really impressed with how the actor just disappeared into the character. Like it seemed like a totally new person. Really, really impressive stuff. Very interesting movie. You might not like have a great time, but it's cool. Shout out Moneyball. All right, next I watched Den of Thieves. This was directed by Christian Gudegast. Jared Butler is like a dirty cop, and he's trying to take down this gang of like bank robbers, I guess. They do heists and shit. So it's kind of like a duel between these two guys, you know. This is a movie that I really wanted to like. This is a type of movie that I really like. Not, you know, striving to be um world changing. Your enjoyment is not necessarily coming from their execution of it. It's just like kind of a B action movie. And a lot of those I tend to like. But this one, unfortunately, I couldn't get behind. I don't know. I really wanted to like it. I had heard that it was like one of those type of movies that's like a little trashy, but you're just like rocking with it the whole way. I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. Jared Butler is doing crazy things in this movie. So it's maybe worth watching just for that alone. It's just like it's just too hollow. Like I understand that a movie like this is not going to be super um thorough, of course, but it was just like everything was just sort of a surface level version of what it could be. It also like really radiates a very strong like masculine like bro energy. This movie felt like its script only had one draft and they were like, yeah, this is good. And the guys that were saying that were like fantasy football buddies or something, you know. For me, I just couldn't invest in it as much. I really wanted to, but it's like every single character moment is basically like an attempt at like a swinging dick, but they're all hollow. So it's like both sides of it, you know? If it's going to be like a total bro movie, it's like all right, fine. But it's that on top of not really executing on any of the on any of the dick swings. So for that reason it didn't quite work for me. But I still enjoyed it enough. Like I said, Jared Butler is a crazy person in this movie. The leader of this gang that Jared Butler is trying to take down, played by Pablo Schreiber. And I liked him. He was pretty good in this movie. The only other thing I'll say about this movie is the ending did not work for me at all. That's all I'll say. It seemed like something that they added at the end of the movie and then tried to like justify it, but didn't really make any sense. Next up on the list is Munich. This is another 2005 Best Picture nominee, directed by Steven Spielberg. Has a bunch of people in it. Eric Bana is like the main guy. So this movie is about the aftermath of um, the hostage crisis at the Munich Olympics. So Eric Bana plays. I guess it wasn't super clear to me, but I don't really know how this stuff works. But he's like a Mossad agent or like adjacent type guy. So he's like an Israeli like CIA spy kind of guy. And basically, the Israeli government is tasking him to like kill all the people that were in charge of planning the um, Munich hostage situation. So basically, we're following this guy and his team. They have a list of Palestinian names, and they're basically just working their way down to try and take them out one by one. So that's like the premise, but it's definitely not um, told in a straightforward way. This is another movie that's very morally gray. To be honest, I think this movie is amazing. I mean, I'm a big Steven Spielberg guy. Watching this movie, it's, you know, he's undeniable. I just think like slicing and dicing at just a high level here. It's really, really great to watch. And it's interesting. It's not super typical of one of his movies, I think. Not just in the subject matter, but the way that he tells it. It has a very distinct visual style. Reminds me of The Conversation, which is like also about surveillance and like intelligence and spying on people. And So there's a lot of a camera that's across the street, like looking really far over, like kind of spying on someone. The whole movie visually has an aesthetic of like espionage and kind of looking over your shoulder and not feeling safe. And that's a big part of the movie. So I won't say what happens in the movie, but it's a very interesting depiction of like a very complex idea in this movie about like vengeance, which is what it is. Or I should say, it's about the cycle of vengeance. That's really what I was getting at. It's about, one side taking revenge for something that was, I don't know the whole history of it, but presumably that act was an act of revenge in itself. So it's sort of like, the back and forth, it keeps going back and it keeps going forward. So yeah, this movie is really about that cycle and how it's absolutely not going to end. The idea that you're going to kill the guys responsible for this, oh, we're all good, everything's good and packed up now. That's a fantasy. I think that in itself is pretty clear, but I think the way it's shown is very masterful. And I think there's also a very interesting commentary being made here about 9/11. I don't know if it was clear at the time that to me like this is a movie about 9/11. Obviously, things that we're seeing are not the same exact thing, but if you take the essence of what each moment is, it's basically talking about exactly the same thing. Like, we start with the hostages, we see the event or parts of it, and then we go into this like attempted revenge. Like I said, with some of these other movies, it's coming out right around the time, post 9/11 US is like going into Iraq. You could say it's a very similar thing happening where there's some quote catalyst event, and then oh, all right, we got to go get revenge for what these people did. But the idea behind it is that wasn't the catalyst event. It goes way back. And if you look at the history of um, you know, the US involvement with the people who were involved in doing 9/11, very similar, like intertwined histories, just like how you have this Israel and Palestine and you know, it's a back and forth. I think there's definitely something clearly being said about the United States and its relationship with the things that led up to 9/11. And of course, then the aftermath as well. I think there's a lot being said about that. I think if you watch the movie, it's clear. It's hard to say too much without being so specific. I will also say that the last shot of this movie um, tells you that this is a movie about 9/11, 100%. So it's really interesting, like fantastic movie, even if you're not looking at like the subtext. Just a great movie. I think it's a really adept commentary. Next, I watched A Time to Kill. This 1996 movie directed by Joel Schumacher. Stars Matthew McConaughey, Samuel L. Jackson, Sandra Bullock. It's one of those John Grisham like legal movies. Another type of movie that I really like. I love The Firm. I love A Few Good Men. I know it's not John Grisham, but it's the same kind of vibe. So I just watched this randomly, kind of hoping for something similar. You do get that a little bit, but the the subject that is tackling is like I don't think the right subject for a John Grisham like legal kind of pulpy drama. I don't know. It's another movie that's trying to investigate race in the United States, specifically with regards to the legal system. It that did come out in 1996, so I don't have the highest expectations for something like that. It's not extremely offensive, but it's sort of my thoughts while I was watching it were, why is this movie trying to do this? Like, I want this movie to be doing something else. I want a different movie to be doing what this movie is trying to do. I don't know too much about Joel Schumacher, but I think probably not the right guy for that kind of movie either. There's an attempt to make a comment about the failure of the legal system. I think it's again pretty service level. The thing about like John Grisham legal movie like this, I just don't think it meshes well with a topic like race and racism, especially in this case, because most of these types of movies, and I think in this one as well, the salvation is in the law, like in the firm. He solves the problem by like being a good lawyer. So that's sort of the idea of these kinds of movies, I think. And that doesn't really work. Here's what I'll say. The idea that the salvation of our characters is in the law, it doesn't work if the character's black, frankly. That's something that we just know to be false. If you're trying to make, statements about that, I think a different type of movie is better suited to tackle those ideas. And it's not Crash. You get a little bit of that good, like, courtroom stuff, but I think there are better options for you if you're looking for something like that. I will say Sandra Bullock has a bit of a reputation for starring in like morally questionable movies about race, which is interesting. I don't know if people talk about that, but I mean, she's in Crash, and that, oh man, her in that movie is awful. Like, I know she's supposed to be racist, but she's just like an awful person, and then she falls down the stairs, and then she's not racist anymore. Like, that's what happens in the movie. And then we got this movie, which I think is the least offensive of her trilogy, which is rounded up by The Blind Side, and that has aged quite poorly, I think. I don't know what's up with Sandy, but I hope she's on the right side of things. The next movie that I watched was The Count of Monte Cristo. This movie came out last year, and it's a French movie. It's a French book, so makes sense. Like everybody else, this was my favorite required reading book in high school for good reason because it's awesome. It's just a great story, and this movie hits all the beats. You get everything that you want. He's locked in prison. He comes back. He's got treasure. He's tricking people. He's wearing masks. He's doing sword fights and it's just everything that you want, from this movie. It was awesome. I really loved watching this movie. I went and saw it in theaters. Yeah, I don't have a ton of like detailed stuff to say about this movie, but it's a book that I love. It's a story that I love, and it's just a great movie version of that story. Great watch, super entertaining. Don't be scared by subtitles. Just watch it. Okay, next movie that I watched was Nosferatu. Came out last year, 2024, directed by Robert Eggers. It's got great cast of a lot of people. Nicholas Holt, what's her face? Lily Rose Depp, who's really good in this movie. We got Willem Dafoe, of course. He's going to show up in this movie. Bill Skarsgård plays the Nosferatu guy. Nosferatu. And I like that he's kind of got a thing going where he's playing like monsters. That's a very niche type of actor that, has been around for a long time. There's a couple guys that like that's their thing. They play fucking monsters. So I think that's cool. And he's great, and he's gross, very gross. This movie is very gross. I don't love gross things, so that I didn't love. But if you like gross things, great, very well done. There's like a lot of interesting folklore stuff in here, but yeah, the all of the blood and skin and like there's just a lot of gross stuff going on that um I just don't like to look at, but well done. There's a scene where he's like sucking blood from someone and like the sound that it makes. I mean, really good job, but oh my god, he's like hunched over this guy, literally like sucking, like gulping blood. It's so gross. But I mean, this movie is beautiful as well, like visually. Even though I just said all the gross things I didn't want to look at, um, like the cinematography is pretty stunning. Everything else is pretty standard. Yeah, there's a vampire and he's bad. It's a relatively simple story, but just the imagery is really impressive. Every shot is really beautiful, to be honest. Not explicitly my type of movie, but I mean, even if you're just like cool with horror movies, this is just a good movie. So if you pass the threshold, I'd say it's worth a watch. So the next movie that I saw was I'm Still Here. This also came out last year in 2024. A Brazilian film directed by Walter Salles. Fernanda Torres is the main actor, and she's a mother of a family in the 70s in Brazil. And her husband gets taken by the government, basically. This was during a time of turmoil in the Brazilian government. There were many people who were tortured, disappeared, killed during this time period. So it's about a real family, a real guy that got taken as, like a conspirator against the government, basically. It's just sort of following her attempts to make right this, like, really grievous wrong that was done to her family. Really good movie, really well made. My experience watching it, I knew what it was about a little bit, so I knew that it was going to be a darker movie. But the first, I don't know what I would say, 20 or 30 minutes before shit goes down. Maybe this is like silly of me to say, but like that was my favorite part of the movie. Just that beginning and the family. I don't know, the way that they are and the way that it's shot, and it just feels like a family. It was a really great um, depiction of a family and a household. I was like, man, I want to be a part of this family and live here. And then obviously the rest of the movie is no, you don't. I mean, it's still the family stays together. It is a movie about family for sure. But yeah, I did really enjoy this, the more carefree beginning. The rest of it is very good as well. Definitely like saying substantial and important things. But in terms of the film, that part wasn't as compelling to me. That's to say, it was still, good and compelling, but getting right into it at the beginning and like on the beach in Brazil with, you know, all the kids and the parents, and there's the family friends and they're having a party. Like, I was like, I just want to go to this party. It doesn't sustain that same energy, or I should say, it's not supposed to. I guess I just kind of want to see the movie that's like live in Brazil movie. The lead performance is really good. She's Fernanda Torres, super like strong. She's not even doing anything that's like crazy big acting, but you can see everything that she's doing inside her head on her face, and you can see also how deliberate and empowered she is and how she moves within the world. Also, the moments where she's, very weak. It's just a great performance. Okay, my next movie is Brokeback Mountain. This I had never seen before. Another 2005 Best Picture nominee, and this was directed by Ang Lee. Stars Jake Gyllenhaal, Heath Ledger, and it's about two. I don't know. They're not really cowboys. They're like ranch hands. They just like watch sheep basically, but they're out like alone in the fields and the woods together, and they fall in love basically. I forget when it's taking place, but it's a while ago, and it's obviously during a time when this is very taboo. That first sequence of them just like being sort of out alone together, wow, it's awesome. Like even just the, cinematography of the nature out there and the way that it's like cut, it really takes its time as well. Them being out there together, and it's just in nature. It's really quiet. Like it's kind of just like the movie is just like breathing a little bit. And that was really great to watch. It didn't really give you much of anything, which is not what I expected at first. Just fresh and natural and like kind of stripped down. It's a great romance. It's a great tragedy. It's I don't know if that's a spoiler. It's I don't think you could expect this movie to go that well for either of these guys given the circumstances of their time. Yeah, I say that in a good way. Like it's a great tragedy. I'm a fan of that kind of stuff. Yeah, both of those aspects of the movie. Man, it nails both of those. And the two main actors are great. We know Heath Ledger is amazing, but really, really, really great. Jake Gyllenhaal is also very good, but this is a younger Jake Gyllenhaal, and I think he got better after this. I've seen better Jake Gyllenhaal, I think, but he's still very good, and they're very good together. I'd say pretty much as good as I was expecting or hoping. Beautiful movie to look at, and beautiful story. Crash was awarded Best Picture this year over this movie. We got another classic, The Departed, of course, directed by Martin Scorsese, 2006. We got Matt Damon. We got Leonardo DiCaprio. A great Mark Wahlberg. I mean, it's The Departed. It's just a banger movie. Like, it's not like Martin Scorsese's best or most profound or most well made movie by any means. It's certainly messy, but that's not really a worry at all. Just watch this movie and enjoy the ride because it's awesome. Everyone's there to play. Everyone's kind of putting on their movie star act. I feel like I heard it described as like a greatest hits album for Scorsese, which I think is pretty good description. Like everything that he's doing in this movie, he's done before and probably better. But it's awesome. I like it. I guess I can say more. I feel like I don't have to because you know it's just a classic movie, a classic Boston movie. There's definitely some bad Boston accents in here. What's the deal? Like, just don't do it. You know, if you can do a Boston accent, go for it. You know, Matt Damon and Mark Wahlberg, even there, sometimes you can catch them, but they're good. But if you're not doing it at that level, what are we doing it for? Go to Boston. People aren't talking like that. But for some reason, if a movie's in Boston, everybody's got to talk in a really, really bad Boston accent. So, I mean, I guess it's kind of funny, but I do feel the movie and a lot of movies would be better if actors were allowed to, or maybe told to, not do a Boston accent. Jack Nicholson, one of the greatest actors, he was not really pulling that off, you know? Martin Sheen, not pulling it off. Alec Baldwin, not pulling it off. He is. I do like him in this movie though. He's funny in this movie. Not a good accent, but he's good. Every scene is a banger. Like if you catch this on TV, it's a good day. I'm gonna lump three movies together. It's three old silent movies, shorter, about an hour each. I've been watching some John Ford movies. First one is like 1917. So the three that I watched are Bucking Broadway, Hellbent, and then the last one is called Just Pals. I'm not really a silent movie guy. I'm trying to appreciate them, and there was definitely some stuff to appreciate in these, but they're short. They're like an hour. They're not really anything substantial. I don't think they're meant to be. The other thing is like a lot of them are so similar. They're all like kind of westerny cowboy type movies, and a lot of them carry the same kind of tropes. And so sometimes they're mixed together when I think about them. Bucking Broadway is a love story about a cowboy, and he's in love with this girl, and then she goes with this other guy. And I actually thought it was a pretty good love story. Like, I was impressed with how much I was like, this is kind of a nice little romance. The next one, Hellbent. Man, to be honest, I don't remember what was going on in that one. I don't really remember. There was some cool shots where they were like in the desert, like a guy on a horse in a like puddle reflecting it. There were some cool shots, but I don't. There wasn't much else that stuck out about that one. The last one, Just Pals, it was pretty good actually. Like it was kind of more of like a light. I mean, they're all pretty light, but it's just about this guy who he's like the town bum basically, and he has this kid that he's like friends with. I don't really know what what this relationship is, but he's like a mentor, big brother kind of to this kid. and everyone's like, "Don't hang around this guy. He's a bum." But it's just kind of about their friendship and like everyone trying to split them up. There's not really anything crazy going on here, but I kind of enjoyed it. Just hanging out, doing some shenanigans. Like didn't change my life, but I'm planning on watching more silent movies, so we'll see how the journey progresses. Okay, my next film that I watched was Emilia Pérez. This was a 2024 movie directed by Jacques Audiard, stars Carla Sofia Gascon, Zoe Saldana. Selena Gomez is also here. I always rep for Selena Gomez, but this wasn't her finest moment, is what I'll say. I don't know. This movie, for some reason, right now, there are many people that supposedly love this movie. I was looking for what the hook is, like what am I enjoying about this? Like what kind of movie is this? What am I getting from it? And I was like, I don't know. The acting is good. The story is like fine. I don't know. It's like it's fine. It's not the worst movie, but I just don't understand what the hype is, I guess. I was driving today and I saw a billboard for this movie and it said like something like a beautiful ode to humanity. And I'm like, what? Where are you seeing that? All right. Next up is The Iron Horse. This is 1924, also silent film. Also John Ford directed. This one though is feature length. It was like over 2 hours. There's a lot going on here. I mean, it's definitely clearly like propaganda, which a lot of movies are. That's not doesn't mean it's a bad movie. Could mean it's bad, but it doesn't mean it's a bad movie. It's basically just about like the beauty of the idea of a transcontinental railroad. So that's sort of like happening throughout the film. There's this guy who really wants that, or like it was his dad's dream or something, and then his dad was killed. Like I said, basically um propaganda, so the story wasn't super compelling. There was a funny scene with Abraham Lincoln. It was just funny to see like it kind of played as like a like Marvel cameo. He came in and it was like, "Oh shit, it's Abraham Lincoln. Like this is the fucking guy. We love this guy." So it was kind of funny. But other than that, um again, there were some pretty cool shots. I think this is a significant film historically because it helped to, I don't know if it created, but at least helped to like establish or solidify or popularize a lot of like Western tropes. So, it's significant for that reason. And of course, a lot of those Western tropes are not ethically ideal. Of course, that comes with the territory as well with a 1924 movie, too. So it's something that you should know and be aware of while you watch the movie, but it's not a reason to not watch the movie. Well, actually, if you do have that reason to not watch the movie, I wouldn't blame you at all. So I'm gonna take that back. It could be for me. I'm still gonna watch it and try to like see what there is to appreciate. One interesting thing also that I'll say is I noticed that with a feature length runtime, but like not really much dialogue, you got dialogue cards that come up and say what the people are saying every now and then, but it's not a lot of dialogue going on. So there's a lot that happens. There's a lot that they fit into this story because what you're saying takes so little time. So it's just interesting. Like there was a lot of story going on here. I think to its detriment. All right, the next movie that I watched was The Queen. Is a 2006 movie, Best Picture nominee. Just hit my back. Oh man. Directed by Stephen Frears. I don't know anything else that he did, but I know that guy's British. Helen Mirren plays Queen Elizabeth, and it's like right after Princess Diana dies, and it's about her dealing with that situation, or rather, like not really dealing with it. I mean, I'm not a royal family guy. Don't really care for that stuff. So anything involving that always tends to feel a little self-important. Like I don't really care about the drama of this lady that has to like rule the nation, but not actually do anything, and she just gets to like live in a palace. I don't know. Um, so that is a pretty big detractor for me. So I should say a pretty big obstacle for me to overcome if I were to like this movie, which I don't really. It's not a bad movie, but it's kind of boring. It is kind of self-important. It is a great performance. I mean, Helen Mirren is a very, very good actor. I mean, you knew she was going to be able to play the queen. That's no surprise. Not my thing. Not for me. If you like the queen, you probably like it. It's not a special movie. There was one scene that I really liked though, where she's just like all this built up stress, and then she goes out to meet up with her family who's like out hunting in a car, and her car breaks down like in the middle of nature in a river in a field. And so she has like this moment to herself. She kind of is coming to terms with her emotions and what's going on in that moment. I just thought it was a cool moment. The rest of the movie, I could leave it. But hey, if you could have one cool moment, that's pretty good. Okay, my next movie that I watched was The Ascent. The Ascent is a Soviet film from the 70s. I want to say 76 or 7, directed by Larissa Shepitko. It was a movie that I didn't really know anything about, but I wanted to watch a Russian movie. And so I read some good things about this. Yeah, this is a pretty stunning movie, to be honest. Like, some of the stuff that the camera does is really, really cool. I didn't know what to expect with this movie, but I was kind of blown away. It's about during World War II, this like group of Russian soldiers. They send out two guys to go to like a nearby farm, basically, to find a cow or something to kill and eat, and get caught. And we see the aftermath of that. Yeah, I won't say anything else. That's not a clear description, but because it's pretty fucking awesome movie. It's also pretty dark and depressing. And the way it ends too, I'll just say that it kind of rocked me a little bit in a really good way. Looks really good and kind of devastating and really great ending. And I love a good ending. Definitely, I would say definitely check out The Ascent. To the next one that I watched was Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. This is a 2007 film directed by Jake Kasdan, stars John C. Riley. It's basically a parody of Walk the Line, and more generally a parody of those music biopic movies that I don't like. In theory, I should appreciate this movie, and I do. Like, they're definitely calling out a lot of the cliches of these movies, and it is funny. Maybe it's just because now we're almost 20 years past that I'm watching it and I'm kind of like, yeah, I know all this, and I know that these movies do this, and I don't like that they do it. So I appreciate that you're calling it out, but I still don't really want to be a part of this experience. So, not that it's that deep, it's a comedy. So like, it's a good watch, it's a good movie. Not anything that I fell in love with. All right, next I watched Babel. This is 2006 film. Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu director. It's another of those sort of ensemble things. You got Brad Pitt, Kate Blanchett. There's, I think, 4 storylines, all with varying degrees of success for me. The storyline in Mexico, just thought was really well done. I liked all the characters and the actors, and it's like at a wedding and all that stuff I liked a lot. Like, that was just a fun thing to be a part of. After shit goes down, it's not as fun. The Japan storyline, I also liked a lot. I think more so for some of the cinematography that was going on there. The other one is with Brad Pitt and Kate Blanchett. That one didn't, eh, didn't do it for me. This is not my kind of Brad Pitt. In fact, and it's not really my kind of Kate Blanchett either. So that part I could do without. There were some really great moments in this movie for sure. Definitely some valleys to the peaks, and I think overall little boring, little, just didn't really hit fully. Not a horrible experience to watch at all. Like you can tell it's made by people that care and like are good at making movies. I just don't think this one really hit. Next I watched This Is the End, 2013. Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg directed this movie. Great Danny McBride in this movie, I will say. It's a comedy. It's about the end of the world, and all these actors are just playing themselves, which is a really funny thing that I like a lot. It's a good comedy. It's funny. Not the best comedy I've ever seen, but pretty good. Pretty good. We don't really get a lot of comedies these days, so yeah, it's good. It's funny. It's You can tell they're just kind of hanging out, making jokes. One of those types of movies. So we made it to the last one. The last movie that I watched in January was Letters from Iwo Jima. This is another 2006 Best Picture nominee. This is directed by Clint Eastwood. It's about Iwo Jima in World War II and the battle there. I guess this is like sort of a partner movie to Flags of Our Fathers, which I haven't seen. So maybe I'll watch that to see how they kind of pair together. Because I guess it's like that's the American perspective, and Letters from Iwo Jima is the Japanese perspective of the battle. I don't know how it stacks up with that one, but this is pretty good. I didn't love it, but it's certainly competent. There's definitely some good moments for sure. Definitely some of the war photography is pretty interesting. Like there's some cool choices being made that I thought were unique. Like especially in a a post Saving Private Ryan world, it did a great job of depicting those intense moments and those battle scenes and stuff like that in a way that was intense and in a way that did reflect, I presume, like that experience a little bit. But it did it in a unique way. I did think that there were some pretty cool shots and some pretty cool camera work. I thought the lighting was great. I noticed this about Million Dollar Baby too. I was watching Million Dollar Baby and I was like, man, some of this lighting is like really great, which is not something that, you tend to notice a lot, or at least that I tend to notice a ton. So pretty cool to see too. Stars Ken Watanabe. He's really, really good in this movie. He's like the general that's in charge of the battle. He's not really doing anything super significant in terms of his actions. I don't know, the way that he portrays this guy as just like a human being. I don't He just seemed like a real guy. He seemed like a real person with like very um deep and authentic emotions, which, that's kind of what acting is, I guess. So, props to you, Ken. Yeah, and that's that. I'm not gonna like rate all the movies or anything, but I'm gonna give it a couple of superlatives. So my best movie doesn't mean that I think it's the most well made movie, but it's just like, what was the best movie you watched last month? I think I'm gonna have to say, for me, Flight was my favorite movie. Everything about it I kind of love, you know, even the messy parts of it. I talked about it a lot already, but man, it's just a great Denzel movie. When he's like at the towards the end of the movie, and they got to get him ready for the big thing, and he's like not ready. It's just a great scene, and of course the real star of the show is that first plane crash sequence. That shit is actually kind of remarkable. Yeah, nothing more to say. My worst movie is Crash. Man, bad movie. Eh, bad movie. My underrated gem movie is The Ascent. I don't know if it's underrated by like the film community. I don't know if everybody talks about this movie and I just didn't know about it, but I didn't know about it and I watched it and I was floored. So, if you want to watch a an old Russian movie from the 70s that's going to, make you think about things and disturb you a little bit, and that's a good one. And my best theater movie. Well, this ties in with my last point that I have to make, which is there are two movies that I saw this month that I haven't talked about. That's because I saw them in theaters with my friend Josh. And so I figured it would be cool to do that section with him and like just have a conversation about those two movies. One of them that we saw in theaters, I mean they're both great, but I will say that one of them is One of Them Days. So this just came out this month and I'll talk about it with Josh, but this yeah probably was I saw a lot of really good movies in theaters, but this one like I just have to say was my favorite. That's my pick for best theater movie, and you'll hear more about it I guess right about now. You ready? All right, here we go. Take two. This is our second attempt at this. We have already recorded this entire conversation. If this one doesn't work, we're gonna give up completely. But we recorded this a couple days ago, and through my own error, Josh's audio was not recorded at all. So I had a moment where I was sick to my stomach looking at it on the computer. But it's okay. We made it happen. We're
This
back
how
here
it go.
again.
This how it
That's
go.
how it goes, you know.
This how you build strength
Always
and
something goes wrong.
resilience.
Yeah, that's right. Since we're doing this again, I'm here with my good friend of many years, Josh. Feel free to introduce yourself, Josh.
What's up? It's your boy Josh, Joshua Walker Ford, Joshua Eugene Walker Ford. I love my name,
Shout out.
so I say it. Did I even do an introduction last time?
I mean, you introduced yourself. I don't know.
Okay, yeah. What's up?
We don't need the whole.
Actually, yeah. What's up? My name's Josh. I'm from East Oakland, California.
Yeah,
I love music.
That's what it was. Yeah, you shouted out the Bay.
Come on, shout
Oakland,
out the Bay always. Let me
Yeah,
get back
shout
into
out.
the groove. This is the second take, so it's like, oh, should we be like the first? Fuck the first. I don't
That's
even
right.
remember it.
That's right.
So yeah, Joshua Eugene Walker Ford from the Bay, DA, East Oakland, California. Shout out East Oakland, California. If you've seen the Super Bowl, you understand why the Bay is important. If you don't, holla at me.
And he's serious about that.
I'm serious. Holla at me, bro. I'll give you 24-hour rundown in 23 hours.
That's right. All right, so we're here to talk about two movies once again. Actually, before we get into that, there is one thing that I wanted to bring up as well, which I forgot to bring up in my individual part of the video. But this was just like a little side thing that I actually wanted to say about a couple of the movies that I watched. But we talked about this recently. Two movies that I watched last month: The Departed, and this movie called Snack Shack. They both do something that we both really love, which is a really late title card. Give me like 20 minutes of the movie and then put the title card up. I just want to say I love that about both of those movies, and I love movies that do that. And it's just a great pleasure of watching movies.
Take me to the climax of the movie.
Yep.
And then give me
and then
then
put
give
it
me
up
the
on the
title
screen.
card.
It's so good. And these two movies do it really well. Like really great late title card.
And I don't even need, bro. The sound can be one of them early iMovie swooshes sounds, bro.
Yeah.
I don't care how you bring the title, bro. Pop it up on the screen.
Yeah.
iMovie swoosh sound.
Yeah, if you time it right.
Little bold, you know how they bold the back, little 3D block.
Yeah. Some word art.
Some word art.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
sold for the rest of the movie. I'm smiling for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, no, that's honestly one of my favorite things about movies, you know?
Come on, bro.
When you put that title card in at the right time, it hits like nothing else.
Like nothing else, bro. We know what the title of the movie is. You don't have to tell us in the beginning.
Right.
That's
not why we that's not why we put the title in the movie.
Exactly.
It's because it's sick.
It's a dope title.
You know? But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. Great late title cards, and I know you appreciate that, so I had to mention it.
Gotta watch. We gotta make a list.
Yeah, we should actually. That's a good list.
I'm acting like I know movies and shit.
That's all right. We discover them as we go.
Exactly. That's what the dope part about lists is. I'm swinging my legs and shit. I'm gonna chill on that.
The first movie that we're gonna talk about that we saw in theaters is Interstellar. This is a 2014 movie directed by Christopher Nolan, starring Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, a bunch of people. And this was re-released in theaters recently for the 10-year anniversary. And so we went and saw it in IMAX. And it was an amazing experience. It's one of my favorite movies, so I've seen it a lot of times. But I'd never seen it in theaters, and to see it in IMAX was pretty awesome. What did you think of it?
First of all, so yeah, like you said, right? It was the second time, or not the second time we saw it, but it was the second time I saw it,
Yeah,
right? In general, the first time I saw it was also with him, but it's funny, like I came in with a completely different mindset,
different set of
different set
circumstances.
of circumstances, completely set of circumstances. So we both came in to USC, love movies, go to the movie theater all the time. You know what I'm saying? Love seeing movies on cable, like just the joy of movies. We both had it. So you assume that we both gonna connect on whatever movie opinion. The furthest from the truth. So the beginning of the year, we started watching some of my favorite movies, right? Shout out, I don't want to expose you. Shout out Tokyo Drift. Shout out Tokyo Drift.
No, it's an
And
important
shout
part of
out
the
Battle of the Year.
conversation.
Like it's important for conversation, right? So we're watching these movies. The first scene happened. Alex and some other nigga that does not need to be named. This guy's a terrible actor. What actor? Like, why is this scene shot like? Why does he have an accent? And in my head, I'm like he's really paying attention to the cinematography of it, the film. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, or
Directing of the
I
movie.
thought I was at the time, at least. You know,
At least exactly. Okay, that's
my
what the
18-year-old self.
yeah.
Right.
That's what the comments were based on, though.
Yeah.
The directing, the acting, the people who were part of making the film. To me, is just life. You know what I'm saying? Like when I watch a movie, I'm in the movie. You know what I'm saying? So I'm the main character, bro. I don't give a fuck about my accent. You know what I'm saying?
You're Tokyo
and,
drifting.
bro. I'm in Tokyo Drift with Bow Wow bumping crazy music. I just became the DK. I'm not even from here, and I became the DK in the first right. So I'm happy the whole time, and I'm just off. I'm like, what is he even talking about? Like, this doesn't make sense. I've never even thought about this watching the movie, and it really shifted like how I viewed movies. And at first, I hated it, like because now I'm watching movies and I'm like, there's a camera. I don't want to
Yeah.
see a camera in my dream. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to know if this is fake. You know what I'm saying? To me, this is real life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, this is an actor. He's not Zac Efron. Don't really go with Troy Bone. Don't really go with Gabriella. You know what I'm saying? Like it took me fully out the movies. But then as I just grew, not only in watching movies growing, but grew in understanding art, music, all that, you understand that paying attention to these are important because these are choices that an artist, in movies case, the director or the writer, whoever it is, are making. So since this is a choice, it's like, oh, I like how he did that. I like how he did that. It's, to me, it was just something that was happening. But it's like, for example, Interstellar, not to jump to it, but
Go
a
ahead.
lot of it, or the dopest scenes were when they were in space. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, they got that one scene. It's just the small spaceship, and it's all of space. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, great shot. It's like a tiny little speck.
Bro, tiny little speck in all of space passing through Saturn. And you go, oh my God, wow. Like, first of all, that's beautiful. Wow, it's crazy how big space is. It's crazy how small their ship is in space. But it's like, that didn't have to be in a movie. Yeah, the director chose to put that in a movie to give us them emotions. Wow, space is so large. Wow, the spaceship is so small. Oh my God, they look like they're going so slow, but they're going so fast, right?
Right.
That's a choice. That's artistic choice. So that's important to look at. So
yeah. But yeah, like you said, that's a specific choice that they didn't have to make, but it impacted you.
Yep.
You know, and it's cool that they made a unique choice that impacts you in a emotional, artistic way. You know,
100%, 100%. It's not just a random story. Like it's not real.
Yeah.
It's a story, but storytelling is dope.
Yeah.
And then since I came in the front, it's also real as fuck to me. Like I can still watch a movie and be like, this shit real. So I can appreciate both sides of it whenever they're present. So
Yep. Yeah. So all right, then tell me about either your first time watching it or this time watching it. What was your experience like?
yeah, like obviously my first time watching it, or not obviously, but my first time watching it, like I said, I was like, this is me, it's real. I'm going on a space trip. You know what I'm saying? So when I watch these movies, it's like, ooh, can I know what's gonna happen? Can I predict what's gonna happen? Right? And so that was my mindset. And obviously that movie in itself, it got the cool twist. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, it lends itself to being that
to
kind of
being
movie.
that type of movie where you just watch it, it's like it's cool to see what happens.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
To be a part of it.
Yeah.
Da da da. we was watching on a small little screen, which again to me didn't really matter because it was like I could still see what's going on, I could still feel what's happening. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. So it was a great time though. Still small,
Yeah.
watching a small dorm, 8 people in a little tiny ass
Yeah, it
room,
was a great time.
bro. It was a great time. But this one now coming in with the perspective of, for example, looking at a shot, whether that's the quality of the image on the screen or what's in the shot, or you know what I'm saying, the camera work, the acting, and specifically in this movie, things were so eye popping. You know what I'm saying? It was
Yeah.
astounding.
Yeah.
And we watched this in IMAX. You know what I'm saying? Loud ass theater,
Yeah.
like you say, seats shaking. It
Yeah, the
lended
sound
this
was amazing.
exactly. Sound was amazing.
Yeah.
So it lended itself more to the new discovery of movies that I had anyway. So it was a super boost in experience. You know what I'm saying? That movie, like we talk about all the time, is so emotional. Like it's
Yeah,
pure emotion, and
it
that's my type
is.
of shit.
Right.
So
I think it's interesting for that reason because
I like good emotions though.
like you
Fuck the negative
said,
shit.
yeah,
We'll get to that, but
but like you said, it's a, or like we're talking about, it's one of those types of movies where if you're watching it for what's happening and the plot and the twists, on the surface, it seems like it is that kind of movie, and it is. But also, like you said, what I really value about this movie is the emotional side of it. Like a Christopher Nolan movie, what you're expecting, at least for like those like kind of classic ones.
yeah,
Um, it's like very plot driven. There's like gonna be some like kind of twist and
twist.
mind fuck thing, and that's cool. And I think when I watched it for the first time, that uh, is what drew me to it. But yeah, there's I I think more than any of his other movies, really, there's a like real emotionality to it and a real spirituality to it, which we were talking about last time. Um,
Shout out last time.
shout out to last time, and that to me at, now is what I really value about that movie. Like the stuff that happens is cool, and the visuals are amazing, but that undercurrent of like there's sort of just a sense of spirituality
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, there's just a feeling that this movie gives you, and that's what I really love about it.
Yeah, 100%. Especially like it takes you so in whatever emotions you feel, it takes you so deep in each of those. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
when you have the hope, the
Yeah.
daughter who has the hope, bro. Like there's even a point where her dad left, the main character, he left, and the truck was coming back. Right, there was a truck coming back, and she was like, "Is that dad?" And I was like, "Is that a nigga? I seen the movie. I know he." You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But I'm like, I'm in it. I'm like, dang, and that hurt me when he left. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When they was up there,
Yep.
right? The pressure of just going, right? And not only it was so much pressure when it was on Earth, just building up of them going to like rockets so
Yeah.
loud. Got the countdown. I don't even know if the countdown was in the movie, but you know, they get up into space and it's quiet.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I make you feel the pressure that you just had, that they just had so much more before. You know what I'm saying? And it's because it's in these also these dramatic situations. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The world is ending. Another reason why I love apocalypse movies.
Yeah.
But the world is ending, right? That's already crazy. But not only is the world ending, they're going into space somewhere that since we don't experience when we see or apparently like when it seems realistic, it's always astounding. Always makes you feel like a planet where it's only waves. Like
Yeah.
that's it's a different type of fear and a different type of
Yeah, the worlds that we experience in this movie are built really well. And you're right, a lot of times it's scary.
it's scary. It's scary the whole time.
Yeah.
It's scary the whole time. And that's a part of it though. That's something that I feel like even in real life we learn to live with is fear. Like you'll be going every day, you'll be scared or anxious or something. You know what I'm saying? And then
Yeah.
you just work on top of that. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's
today
true.
was a good day. I'm still scared as hell of whatever you are, but today was a good day. And in that movie, it was like there was good moments, there was terrible moments, but the whole time it's like,
Yeah.
like you know what I'm saying? Where am I going? Where are we even gonna get to? What is even gonna happen? Like the whole time, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And because they were in space in these dramatic ass situations, it just brought that shit out so much more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That shit was
totally.
crazy.
That's a good point as well. The environments and I think how well executed they are add to bring out that emotion.
Yeah.
You know, it's all
Yeah.
working together like that. Yeah, uh, I would also say something that I mentioned last time, but I think is important. Um, I really love Matthew McConaughey in this movie, and I think it really works. Like that emotion that we're talking about, it really works because of him. I think he brings a certain spirituality. He has his own sort of vibe that I think he brings to the movie that not a lot of other people could do in the same way. And I think that
Definitely.
is um, a big part of where that emotional core of the movie comes from, you know?
Because we
Um,
need it from that guy.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
exactly, exactly. It's all anchored by him.
That's so funny. Cause yeah, every time, like, mind you, I love action movies. Every time I think of the action movies I love, I see the main character like any emotion, like either he's super stressed or he's going through.
Yep,
You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I think of.
right.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. Like I was thinking about like what if like Tom Cruise is in this movie? It's like yeah, it would be
It's like we
cool.
got
It
it,
would be a cool movie. Like
bro. It
it
would
would be
be
a sick movie,
yes, it would just
like
be an
Mission
action movie,
Impossible.
mission accomplished. You know what I'm saying? Hey, wrap up.
Yeah, yeah,
Went. Oh,
yeah. And obviously there are other
that's true.
actors who you know
That's
have
true. I like
emotionality
that
for
part.
sure, but I just think there's a unique energy that he brings, and he does have you know just like Tom Cruise and a lot of other people, he does have that movie star quality as well. I think. I think everybody in this movie kind of brings that. I think everybody knew what this movie was really supposed to be about,
Yeah.
and I think they bring that emotion to it. But yeah, did you have anything else you'd like to add before I ask you what your favorite part of the movie is?
Yeah.
Nice. All right, we'll
It
see you
was
guys later.
it was a point that you brought up about how obviously this movie is that type of movie where you watch for the first time and you see the plot twist and you're like, and obviously those were the type of movies I liked. The movies that I couldn't predict, I liked more. In that time, I never liked watching movies twice. Cause I'm like,
Yeah.
know what the fuck happened already. You
Sure.
know what I'm saying? But lending to that switching of mentality or that new mentality, watching a second time, you can always appreciate art. You know, how many times we listen to the same song?
Right.
When we was kids, how many times we watch the same music video? We like seeing what we saw.
Yeah.
We don't like
Right.
just knowing what happened. But to me, exactly. To me, it was just a story. Movies were like my eyes were closed and they did the imagining for me. But it's like, no, like placed a tray out, you know what I'm saying? A buffet
Yeah.
out of visuals. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
And
I'm gonna
both
eat
as
that
well,
chicken.
though.
Exactly, both. I'm gonna eat that chicken every time.
Right.
I'm gonna eat that pizza every
It's
time.
dinner time again, you
Bro, it's
know?
dinner time and it bang. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And like you said, it has so much more of that only plot. You know what I'm saying? So it lends itself to that rewatching. And like you said, emotion too, that refilling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Totally. And shout out to the score as well. One of my favorite scores. I think it adds to that emotional
out of 10,
core that we're talking about. Out of 10,
I'm putting
I
out of
love
10.
rating
Full.
art on an objective 1 to 10 scale. I don't know, probably 10.
Oh
I don't
damn.
know, just like
I
I
wasn't
love
even
it.
really asking for the
You
score.
know,
I was just
right, right.
but
Like what else am I supposed to say? I love it.
I give it
I listen to it
2.5
all the time. All right, you still listen to
out
it
of
all the
2.5
time, but all right, 2.5 for Josh.
out of 2.5.
Okay,
Nah,
all
out
right,
of
fair enough.
2.75.
Yeah, I think that's one of the great things that I love about this movie as well. My favorite part of the movie is probably that, like I said, that docking scene where you know
Not you saying that first, but it's good.
it's well I tossed it up to you and you didn't do anything with it, so I was gonna take it and then give it to you again, another chance. Look, I gave you multiple chances, but
We dancing. We
great
dancing.
scene, great intense scene. I won't say really what it's about, but there's just a really great set piece in the middle towards the end. It's a lot of great set pieces in this movie. Um,
What that
and
is like the equipment,
no, a set piece is just like a sequence, basically. Like I'm saying, it's a set piece. Like
like the scene almost, like the
yeah,
part of the course.
it's like the docking sequence is like a
Yeah.
set piece, you
Gotcha.
know, or
Gotcha.
like
Gotcha.
in Mission Impossible, like if when he's
When
climbing up
he's
the building,
yeah
like
yeah
that's like a
yeah.
set piece sort of. It's kind of
Gotcha.
like
Gotcha.
that, I guess.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's a lot of really good set pieces in this movie. And I think that's probably my favorite one. But I do enjoy them all. Now, please tell me what your favorite part of this movie was.
Other than the docking, nah,
No, it could be the same
nah, I'm playing.
thing.
No, it's because I really don't even have like a favorite part. Like
Yeah, you don't have to.
it's crazy. Like the things that top of my mind. I love seeing Saturn's rings.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
seeing that big ass missile that they had at the beginning of the movie that they put up on
Yeah,
that
yeah,
they was
yeah.
following.
The drone,
Yeah,
yeah.
because the drone, like obviously it looked big in the sky, but when they got to it, it was dumb. Like,
Right.
and I
Huge.
just love seeing like it
Yeah.
felt because that's something that we've seen those before, but we haven't seen it that big.
Yep.
So to like, it just made me want
And
to
it
touch it.
it did. It felt very tactile and very physical,
Exactly,
like everything
exactly,
does in this movie. Like all
exactly.
the effects
So
and
real.
all the
It seems
props and
super
everything, the
real,
robots, like
bro.
they feel
The
like
tape,
so real, like you can touch them. The tape?
like the tape on the like just on anything on the materials. You know what I'm saying? Like the super tape, specifically the super tape on the whatever it was, the wing. You know the scene where they showed a specific part of the spaceship and it was
Yeah, yeah.
that part, the black part.
Okay. I don't remember the tape.
Oh.
Fair enough.
It wasn't even really
Good
tape, but it
good
was like
catch.
a black part.
Just
It
like
was
it
just
all
the
seems
black
like
part.
real. It's like
Exactly.
it
Like I
seems
feel
like
like I could like peel that off.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep, 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 yep. Yeah, did you have a favorite
Oh,
part or no?
the favorite part. Yeah, I mean that docking.
It's great. And the music is
Cause,
great.
cause it just made me. Cause it's like, what's the coolest thing for me to do? Like at the end of the day, that's still how I watch movies.
Yeah.
What's the coolest thing he do? What's the coolest thing I did in the movie? All right,
Right.
that's my favorite part.
And it is a cool moment where he does a cool thing. Like he kind of
Exactly.
locks in and takes control.
Like
And it's
I
cool.
locked in, bro.
Yeah.
And saved everybody.
Yep. Yep. Well. Yeah. Any other thoughts on this movie?
Shout out AMC Pass.
Shout out to the AMC A
Shout out
list.
to
Yeah.
AMC Pass.
Yep.
If you ever see this movie or any movie in the fan phase or like rewatch a movie, do that because
Yep.
it's
That's awesome,
different
bro.
every time, bro.
All right. Anyway, yeah. Shout out to the A list. Shout out to Interstellar, one of my, all time favorite movies, classic movie, kind of a comfort movie for me. So this was a great experience to be able to watch in theaters. All right. So our next movie that we watched was One of Them Days.
One of them.
One of Them Days. This was directed by Lawrence Lamont and stars Kiki Palmer and SZA, the great Kiki Palmer. This just came out last month, so we went and saw it in theaters. And like I told you last time, this was, even though I saw many, many great movies in theaters, last month, this was my favorite theater movie.
Tough.
And I said that because it just reminded me of a movie that I would have seen in theaters like, 10 years ago
Come on,
when we
bruh.
used to be going
Take
to
my
theaters
kids
like
to the
that.
theaters.
Yeah.
Take my auntie to the theaters.
Right. Exactly.
My auntie can't go see nothing.
Yeah.
She's not gonna see Mario. She's not gonna see
Right.
Marvel. She's not gonna see this. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
She can see one of them days.
Yeah, exactly. Just like a fun comedy movie.
Or Denzel.
And that too. It's not a movie that's like you have to see on the biggest screen possible because it's, Interstellar, where it's rocket ships and space and stuff. But that's the kind of movie that I also love to see in theaters, Like I don't want to be watching these movies on Netflix anymore. It's better than a Netflix movie, by the way.
No, 100%.
But that's the idea,
100%. And it's like, what is a theater movie if every movie is like that in the theaters? You know what I'm saying? Sure, you can be like, oh, well, that's a theater movie. But it's like, if you have to go to the theater and say, oh, this one was really built for the theaters.
Right.
Then which one in there wasn't? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? This one wasn't, but I'm glad I saw it on a big ass screen.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
With a crowd of people
With a
as
crowd
well.
of people,
laughing, it's
bro.
awesome.
And that's going back to COVID. Why theaters coming back was so important in COVID.
Yeah.
Theaters is not just to go and watch a movie. You know what I'm saying? To see a movie.
Right.
You're not
Totally,
by
not at
yourself,
all.
bro.
You're
with other people.
It's a communal experience.
it's very
like
communal.
going to church,
Exactly.
Church of cinema.
Even people you don't know. You hear the opinions after. You hear the people that talk during the movie.
Yeah.
Usually us or me, I'll say, sadly. My voice just carry and I just be excited.
I gotta be like,
No, I'll be peeping, but I'll be like, damn, I gotta say this one though. But yeah, it's communal. If people ain't laughing, you're not gonna laugh.
Right.
If people is laughing, you more likely to laugh. Like, it's not just watching. You know what I'm saying? So it's good that you said that, and like, it's cultural, and that's also part of why movies are made.
What are we doing this
Oh
for if
yes,
we're not
yes,
going to
he is
watch it
exactly,
in
exactly,
as a communal experience with a
exactly.
group of people? You know.
It's why movies are made, and why we can't just have those theater movies. Like, and
Right.
you were talking about this, and it is important. Like, crowds who go in and they're just like, they don't want to hear a peep. Like, they're mad if they hear something, or
Yep.
which I understand 100% completely. Like, especially if you want to bow down and watch a movie, but
Right.
it's
And
like, bro,
for a certain type of movie, sure, I guess.
exactly for a certain time movie, sure.
Of course.
But it's like, let's not be pretentious with the
Yeah.
motherfucking theaters.
Right. And
The
let's
theaters, nigga, I
appreciate
was going there when I was 10.
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, let's appreciate the movies where we don't have to be doing that, you know?
exactly,
Where we can go and have a good time, you know,
exactly.
with our friends and everybody else.
Bro, we seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the second one, in the worst environment, like
Yes.
that someone can imagine. Like,
Kids screaming the
little
whole
kids
time.
screaming. We was in the back. We had the little thing over us. We couldn't even. We
It's like
almost
the
could
top
not
half
see
of
the
the
whole
screen is cut
screen.
off.
It wasn't loud. We couldn't hear nothing. We was an hour in the
It
movie.
had
We was
Spanish
like,
subtitles at the
is they
bottom.
still whispering? Spanish subtitles at the
Yep,
bottom,
yep.
bro.
Man, it was
Best
awesome.
time ever. Come on, gang, bro. Like, we lit, bro. Let's not take this serious. Let's not take this serious. You wanna be a critical critic of the movie? Go on premiere the night of, or watch it by yourself in the movie,
Yeah.
at Rome. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And
And
obviously, yes. Again, I understand going to movies being quiet, but just
right, but we
hating
can't
the other side is stupid.
but what you're saying is that we can't lose that
The
like
essence,
joy and that childlike, you know,
bro.
experience of just going to the movies to have a good time
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
laugh
And that's what I was gonna say. What movies were made for, but really, what theaters were made for. Theaters are not gonna be made so that 5 smart people can go and watch it.
yeah. Right.
Let's bring everybody. The essence of anything is the true spirit of it. Fuck that capitalism shit. Fuck whatever reason we turned it into based
Totally.
on whatever societal standards that we got now. Get back to the essence of why it was created, and then we can see. And in that essence, it involves the kid movies, it involves the auntie movies, the fun movies, it involves the dramatic movies, it involves the super best looking on the screen.
It's like a collage, you know? It's all different things. It's a big family, you know? You got to appreciate all of it. If you love movies, you love all parts of it. All parts of
Exactly.
the movies, you
Exactly.
know? So that this movie is a great movie to appreciate that side of movies. Basically, it follows Kiki Palmer and SZA are roommates, and they need their rent money basically on the first, and they go on this sort of odyssey throughout LA. And
Shout out LA.
shout out to LA. It's a pretty good LA movie actually, like
Oh yeah, they in LA for real.
vibes wise and like, you know, aesthetically.
It's Issa.
Yeah, of course, of course. Shout out to Issa Rae who produced this movie. They're just on all sorts of adventures and hijinks, and it's just a good time.
Hijinks is a funny word.
I think I already said shenanigans for one of my other movies.
Yeah.
We're running low on daylight, but
It's one of them days.
it's one of them days. Yeah, when we recorded this last time, that was one of them days too. Yeah, super funny. The actors are great. Like I really enjoyed this movie. I had a great time. I thought it was
Yeah,
hilarious.
it's that, bruh. Speak on that hilarious, like comedies. And
Right.
I don't know.
Where are they?
I don't know how comedies are made or structured or whatever, but that was just a funny day.
Yep.
I don't really know writing, and especially now, I've tried to pay more attention to writing.
Yeah, I think
But generally,
give
I
yourself a
don't
little
pay
more
attention
credit.
to writing at all. You know what I'm saying? Or sourcefully in the beginning.
Yeah.
And so when I'm thinking about a joke, I'm thinking, is it funny, bro? I don't care about.
Right.
Oh, that's a
I
good
think it's
joke.
definitely more about that too with jokes and comedy too, because like you can be. It's hard to analyze a joke and be like, this is why this is funny. Like a joke is like, do you laugh or not? You know.
That and nah,
And we were laughing the whole time,
bro. What is funny? What is humor for? You know what I'm
right.
saying? Like,
you don't want to have to think about
and-
it. It's supposed to be an uncontrollable reaction.
bro. I'm gonna boom. Exactly. That movie was just like we with these girls and we laughing all the
Yeah,
time.
it's
Like
a funny
these girls,
movie.
they crazy, they friends funny as hell, they friends crazy. The situations they getting into crazy.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And what we want to go to a movie for, to have a good time.
Right. So yeah, just a great movie overall. Do you have a favorite part?
Cat Williams.
Yep.
No. Keke Palmer
He walked it back.
and SZA.
Yeah.
Like that's favorite part one. Cat Williams. Respect.
Cat Williams 1B.
1B.
Yep, that's a fair answer.
1B.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah.
Bruh. And we got this movie now. Like that felt like a moment. I'm like, damn, I missed them. Like
Yeah.
that day.
It's
I
a
can
movie for
rewatch
all
that.
time now.
Bruh, my kids can see that.
We're pretty much cooked.
What's your favorite
We're
part?
pretty much cooked on Daylight. I was gonna say probably Cat Williams as well. I mean, shout out to Keke Palmer and SZA too, of course.
Alex's favorite part is when SZA got electrocuted.
I actually did like that. I saw it in the trailer and I was like, she's like climbing up a telephone pole and then she goes. I was like, this is goofy, not what I want. But then I was like, when I watched it in the movie, I was like, this is goofy, but I like it. You know, that helped me realize what type of movie it was, and I was like, I'm here for it. Hell yeah.
If we're talking about, like, I'm talking about someone artist to somebody, and I say, oh, this artist is good, and they say, no, they're not. I hate that artist. Well, we can't have a conversation then. Every artist that's good or great that a lot of people like, you have to first latch on to why they're liked to fairly judge them.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't be like
if yeah,
no, J. Cole sucks. Oh, you listen to albums? I hate them. They're ass.
right.
I don't like any of
You
the
should
music.
be, and you know, I
Then
actually was thinking about this.
you can't judge.
Based off of our Fast and Furious experience, like you should be trying to watch or experience.
You
want
want to like it. You should want to like it.
From the perspective of its biggest fan. You know,
Exactly.
like you need to try to understand what people are getting from it and then go into it with that lens.
Boom.
You know?
Boom.
But it's okay if you don't like it still, but you know, that's how I think we should be looking at it.
Exactly. That's how you should be. Exactly. And if you don't like it, it's like, cool. I appreciate all the people that do like it. Shout out to loving something for what it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And shout out to Cat Williams. He's hilarious in this movie, as always. All right. Any last thoughts before we sign off?
Last thoughts. Come on. 2025. We all indigenous.
And we're all in.
And we all in, bro. Full speed marathon. You know what I'm saying? We attacking.
Yeah, join us.
Tasmanian
on the
devil.
attack.
That's what it's like. Come
Yeah.
on, bro.
All right. Well, we'll see you next month. And
I'll see you in your dreams.
all right, we'll leave it at that.
Okay, I got chill. I got chill doing that out here. Hey, Lil Bron, keep the family away. Curry, keep the family away.